If you want, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be all about the best audiobooks that I have been listening to ever since Booktube. This is technically part 2. I will be linking down below the first video that I did on this topic. So basically a bunch of books that I think are fantastic at audiobooks. I would recommend them in that format. And some of them are also books that I feel like I enjoyed more because I listened to them as audiobooks, because why the heck not? So let's get to them. Oh, and please, in the comment section, leave me your recommendations, because I don't tend to read a ton of like fantasy or hard sci-fi in audiobook format just because I find them too confusing. I never remember anyone's name, so I feel like if I don't see it, I will not be able to follow the story. So fantasy and sci-fi are harder for me to listen to, but I've heard great things about a bunch of them, so leave some in the comment section for everyone else. First one on my list is Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. This is a memoir kind of nonfiction narrated by the author. The only type of nonfiction worth it, in my opinion. But seriously, I just really love whenever the author narrates their own books. It just makes it so much better, in my opinion. And especially in this case, since it's about his own life, it has to be narrated by him. And he's such a funny and charismatic man that it just translates really well in the audiobook format, so would recommend it. I am not someone that reads memoirs, like, ever. I just don't. I just don't. And I feel like this one, because it's about his childhood in South Africa and how he was born a crime because his father was like a white Swiss man, and being mixed there was like punishable by like 5 years of prison, and basically coming of age, his relationship with his mom quite a bit, and it's just, he's likable. I feel like it makes the whole book worth it. Very popular for a reason, definitely worth the hype. One book that I think is definitely because of the audiobook that I enjoyed it even more, and it is The Night Swim. I have not been lucky with mystery thrillers. I love these genres, but for some reason every book has been disappointing, but not this one. I went into it with low expectations. You're following someone that has a crime podcast, so if you like that, you're gonna like this. And because it's an audiobook, you really get the podcast in there, which makes it so much more enjoyable to actually listen to it. And she's going to a small town where there's a rape case in court, and she's there to like report as it's going, so people can, you know, make their own theories and everything. And there's also flashbacks to another case that happened in the same town, and she's just going through it, and I do think that the audiobook made me enjoy it so much more. Not that I wouldn't have enjoyed it with the physical copy, but because of the podcast, I feel like it's the perfect format. So highly recommend checking out that book in general, but definitely as an audiobook. Let's be real, if you are listening to this video, you are looking for more audiobooks, so check out that one. So More Nonfiction, narrated by the author, Jon Ronson. In general, my personal favorite by him so far, I've only read 2, is So You've Been Publicly Shamed. I've definitely talked about this book before. It's such a fascinating topic. It's about people that effed up and just posted something stupid in social media and the consequences that they faced afterward. And I think it's really interesting how he explores what happens later on, like how people reacted depending on what the person did. So if they were apologetic or not, if they were men or women, and it makes all the difference. I feel like the author could have went a little further. I actually wish he would published part 2, because this was published in 2015, so I feel like in the last 6 years, so much more has happened that a second part would have been, everything. But still definitely think it's worth it. And because the narrator is the author, and he's so like socially awkward, but in a really wholesome, likable way, that it makes the whole book so much better. Like, I'm sure I would have still liked the physical copy. It's not a 5-star book, but because of him, it just makes it so much more enjoyable. And I also listened to the Psychopath one. It's still good. And he's also the person narrating the book, so it makes it perfect. Now, let's talk about If We Were Villains. I just listened to that audiobook, and I highly recommend it. I am someone that has never read anything from Shakespeare, like nothing. I went in high school in French, so like we did not read any of his plays, and I went to this book not knowing anything, any quote, and the book is basically a bunch of students in this very snobby school where they just play a bunch of Shakespeare's play. So if you have any kind of knowledge, it will probably make the experience even better. But if you like audiobooks, which if you're watching this video, you do, listen to this one as an audiobook. I feel like the performance of the narrators makes the whole difference, and I really, really enjoyed it, again, with zero knowledge prior. So there's a good chance you will also really enjoy that one. So if you like kind of mystery, a lot of people actually compare this to The Secret History by Donna Tartt. So kind of dark academia. We're currently in fall. You need to listen to that one. This year, I discovered Calidocini as an author. I would highly recommend 8,000 Splendid Suns, which, with Invisalign, this is way too hard. The author writes incredible characters. I also actually read the physical copy of The Kite Runner, so I can't tell you if it's a good audiobook, but I did listen to this one as an audiobook and it was fantastic. His characters, his female characters, are amazing. I do not say that lightly. And it's obviously about war in Afghanistan, domestic violence, child bride. It's such a hard book, but again, his characters, the relationship, just the growth throughout the book, it's heartbreaking, it's amazing. And he's well known for this quote, like a compass that points north, a man's accusing finger always finds a woman. Is just fantastic. There's nothing else to say. Absolutely recommend it. And like I was mentioning, The Kite Runner, which I'm assuming is also a good audiobook. You can confirm in the comment section, but I am still so mad about that book because it was so good. I don't cry, but like I had, you know, little misty eyes for sure with these two books. One more nonfiction, because why the heck not? Furiously Happy. Actually, this author in general, she has 3 books and I listened to all 3 as audiobooks. And she was the one narrating them, which again makes the whole thing so much better. She is so funny. She uses her work to talk about mental illness and all the diseases that she has, and she finds humor in them to cope and help other people cope, and she's just incredibly likable, like incredibly likable. This one is my favorite by her, which is her second book. You don't really have to read them in order, but this one is my favorite one. I remember actually laughing, which I don't really laugh out loud very often when I read or listen to a book, but this one definitely made me laugh. And if you are looking for more audiobooks, she has to be on your list. She just does. Let's talk about 2 more books that I don't think I would have finished if it weren't for the audiobook. I personally didn't love them, but I know a lot of people do, so, you know, take my own opinion with a grain of salt, but the audiobooks were good. The first one would be This Is How You Lose the Time War, which is kind of a sapphic love story between these two, like, spy that are like time traveling, leaving each other letters that are pretty much love letters, and you kind of see them fall in love throughout trying to kill each other. It's something, but the book, the writing is beautiful, and I feel like as an audiobook it's absolutely perfect. You can really just enjoy the writing, the way it's written. Kind of gave me a little bit of feels of like Erin Morgenstern, kind of. So if you like The Night Circus or The Starless Sea, I would highly recommend you check out this book. I feel like you might love this, but it's so hit and miss. People either love it or hate it, so just be aware. But it's a fairly short book, so it's not really a big deal. And as an audiobook, it's very short. I think it's about 6 hours. So it's not a big commitment, but I would recommend it as an audiobook in general. And the second one is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I would never finish this book if it weren't for the audiobook. I had the physical copy and I pretty much solely listened to it as an audiobook, which was great. I just have to say though, I went into it not knowing what it was about, and I still am not sure. Like, I'm half joking. Basically, this kid is there when there's an explosion museum and steals this painting, the Goldfinch, and hides it, and you just follow him throughout his life, mostly around rich, snobby New Yorkers. And there's a lot of drugs. Not with the New Yorkers, actually. That's when he moves to, like, was it Las Vegas? Anyway, lots of drugs. The book was like so all over the place. I was very, very confused, but a lot of people love it. So once again, take my own opinion with a grain of salt. It's subjective, but yes, I do recommend the audiobook. I did think it was well done. Would you be interested in me doing a version of this video where I talk about books that I feel like the audiobook ruined it for me? Because I feel like that could be interesting. Because I'm thinking of like Hench, for example, that I read recently. The beginning was really strong, the ending, not so much. But you're following this woman who is working for like villains, superheroes, and she was wronged by a superhero, so she kind of becomes a supervillain herself. And it's really interesting to see it happening. However, the audiobook, some of the voices that she made were so grating. Not she meaning the narrator. It just ruined my enjoyment at times. So I feel like if you would be interested in like a list of books to just avoid as audiobooks, I can definitely add that to my list of videos to film. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Quick little recommendation video. Thumbs up, subscribe. Definitely leave comments down below with your own recommendations for me or for everyone else, because we always want more audiobooks to check out. I listen to a good amount of audiobooks every year, but I feel like a lot of them are just kind of, you know, they were fine. The book was fine. There's only a few that really makes it to these kind of videos, and then a few that could be in the horrible category. Once again, let me know if you want that. I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out, and I will see you in an upcoming video very soon. Bye. Only you're the reason why I can feel those butterflies.